So, welcome to Crack It Cold.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are really excited to have our guest today, Lauren Kinney. Lauren Kinney is from Fishers, Indiana. She went to Marian University, where she studied studio arts and psychology. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As I'm reading off of this.
Yeah.
So, you like to hang out at the AMP at 16 Tech. You're a young professional in indie. You're innovative. You are somebody who is inspiring, and that's why we had you on. That's kind of our rule here at Crack It Cold is we want to have people who, are inspiring and good to have on. And we have inspiring conversations to show people what's possible in life, show them what kind of experiences you can get in indie. And that's kind of what we're all about. So thanks for that, John.
Absolutely.
To start off, Lauren, your current role at the Indie Chamber, could you talk to us a little bit about just brief background? What is the Indie Chamber and what do you do there?
Yeah, so the Indie Chamber itself is a business membership organization. So businesses, we serve the 9-county region, which is like Marion County, surrounding counties. Businesses can be members of the Indie Chamber where they will get access to like different networking events, roundtables, connect with other CEOs. We also advocate for them at the State House during sessions. So it's not exactly where I thought it would be, but through the opportunity of the Orr Fellowship, which we can get into, that is where I matched, and it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Piggybacking off what you just said, can you talk about the Orr Fellowship a little bit, kind of like how you got into that and what led you to do that, I guess?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I studied psychology, so I went to Marian, going to study primarily art and then do a minor in psychology so I could hopefully then go to IUPUI for my master's and do art therapy. But I quickly realized after being in a classroom doing art that it was more of like a passion than something I wanted to do for a career. So I flipped that around and majored in psychology, minored in studio arts, and then the pandemic happened. Don't know if I can say that on the podcast, if anything will be monetized or whatever. But I realized then that I don't know if therapy is really what I wanted to go into. So the cool thing about the Orr Fellowship is that if you're not really sure what you want to do post-grad, it could introduce you to a completely new opportunity. It's a 2-year postgraduate program where fellows are matched with a company. You go through a very long application process to get you to that point. But you're partnered to a company and you work there for 2 years, either in a rotational program, or if they look at your resume and they see where you would fit in a specific role, they'll just put you into that role, which is kind of what happened to me.
That's awesome. And I think what's really cool about that program, it's better than going to school, right? I mean, it's real life. Like that is a real job, real experience. It's kind of the best of both worlds, I would say, because you're getting that experience that you need, but it's better than paying for your master's or whatever.
Right. And you have the support system of 80 other people in your class, and then there's first and second years. So there's 150, 160 of us.
That's awesome.
We're all just going through it together.
Yeah. And especially there's so many grads, I feel like, that don't really know what they want to do. They have a pretty general degree, or they have a degree that doesn't really, there's not a specific route that they can go, and having that, I think, is huge. That would be really, really nice to have.
Yeah.
How old would you say on average the Orr Fellows group, how old would those people be?
Yeah, so you start at the year after you graduate college.
Okay.
So most of us are 23,
Pretty
22.
young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And so that brings up a good point, not to get too focused in on our ages, but I think that part of this podcast, we really like the young professionals of indie.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is really exciting for us. I think indie is on the rise, especially me in the sports world.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot, and the next generation is coming, and I think that the next generation is really fired up about indie. And this is the first time, I mean, aside from being on coming from a small town, playing basketball, John and I played together. We had a common, goal as a team. We felt unity, but that's a small town. Coming to Indy, a larger city, and seeing that community at such a young age, that's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think that's just great. So what is your favorite thing to do around the city of Indianapolis? What's your favorite thing to do in Indy?
I really like to explore different neighborhoods, so I wouldn't say I have like a thing that I do every single weekend, but whenever there's like markets going on, there's one this weekend, the Broad Ripple Art Fair. Love going to those, and it kind of helps you get out of your comfort zone and check out different neighborhoods and kind of see what the arts and culture is in each pocket of the city, which is really cool.
Have you lived in downtown Indianapolis since you went to college?
Yes, ish. I mean, more on the north side. Marion's like right next to Butler. Mm-hmm. So I lived on Marion's campus, and then I did move over to Butler for a year because I have a friend from high school who's in pharmacy school. So I stuck around with her like for her 5th year, and I lived on Butler's campus, which was crazy, like seeing the similarities and contrasts of those two schools, even though they're right next to each other. Yeah.
Do you feel like, so living in Indy, and obviously you're super involved, you're in the Orr Fellowship, have a great job, you're very connected in Indy. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like this city compared to other cities, is there anything that people say about Indy that you think would surprise anybody? Like, because we had someone on recently, Maddie, who said that she's traveled a lot. She's been to a lot of different cities. And she said, she described it as like a hidden gem, like something that a lot of people don't know about. Like it's a city has a lot to do, I think, more so than what other people would say. But do you feel like has anyone said anything about Indy that you think would surprise anyone, whether it's good or bad, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, going to Marion, I feel like something I wish I did more was explore the city. I didn't really do that until I got into this role and had to know a lot of things about a lot of different places in terms of like livability for people who are interested in moving here. One thing that I think that's really cool about Indy is we're still a small city, so you like can still make an impact. You don't get lost in the crowd like you would in New York or wherever. So, and like people are always, they say this a lot, but people are always open to get coffee with you. Any level, you know.
And Indy has such a great like scene for coffee shops.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many.
That's such a common denominator. Every
time.
Every person,
it's like a city that is the perfect size, that has a network that's big enough to make an impact, and let's just jam pack it with the best coffee shops. Like that's just a recipe for success right there. I mean, it's great. So, and also I see, so John, we're going to take a second. John just cracked open this Liquid Death water in a can. We're all about the can on Crack It Cold, so we love that. Feel free to, dig into your drinks, guys.
No, we just talked about
water.
Local coffee, but I do have a Starbucks here.
In a can. So what we got to do is Crack It Cold needs to partner with some coffee shops to get them to put some local coffee in a can.
Yeah.
Right?
We should do that. We should vlog.
I don't think, and then there's
place.
also like Circle City kombucha, or you could get local beer.
You need to let us know some good places. Do you think that we should?
Okay, I'll
we
send
should
you a list
put
after
on.
this.
We definitely drink beer on this podcast, but considering we got here at 9 a.m. this morning. I mean, I know, it is May. Okay, it is May.
500 season.
I think John and I have drank before 9 a.m. at a couple of occasions, but I figured we'd stick with some
Let's get hydrated.
fuel here, hydration.
Yes,
energy.
much needed.
Yeah.
So, are you a fan of the Indy 500? Do you go? Have you been to the race before?
Yeah, last year was my first year going.
Going?
Yeah, and from my dorm room at Marion, I could hear the cars practicing, but I never made it over to the track, and now I'm like, wow, what was I doing?
Yeah, it's awesome. I've actually never been to the race because Willie, so generous of him too. Last year he did the same thing that we're doing today. You can talk about that a little bit more if you want. But we went and watched like the qualifiers and stuff, and even that was cool. Yeah. But I would love to go to the race at some point, or the Snake Pit. You said you're going to the Snake Pit.
Yes.
Yeah. You gotta go. You gotta go this Memorial Day weekend. You gotta find a way.
We'll find a way to get you there.
Yeah. That would be great.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm gonna be in Denver during Memorial Day weekend. I know, but it's not unfortunately. I say unfortunately that I'll miss the race, but on the positive note, my girlfriend lives in Denver.
Nice.
We're gonna be there. I'm gonna be there for that weekend and the week after. I'm running a 10K
Yup.
in the climate of Denver. We're gonna go on the Manitou Incline up the side of a mountain. It's this railroad ties that take you up. We're going to a Rockies game.
Yep.
Wow. Jam-packed.
So yeah, we got a lot, and what I want to do is look into playoff tickets to see if the Nuggets are still going to be playing at home. I need to look at the schedule, see how that's going to work.
I saw a ticket price for which this is obviously on the high end, but it was like the median range is somewhere around like 2,000 or 3,000 for those tickets.
Yeah,
for,
not happening
for Denver and LA.
Yeah.
That would be sick if you could go to it.
That would be dope.
NBA playoff game.
It's definitely too expensive. So, anyways, sidetrack. I'm going to be in Denver for the weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I've been to the race. Only one time I've been to the actual race. I've been out to the track a lot throughout the years, but only one race. And I will say the most exciting thing is just like leading up to the first lap. You know, you got the jets flying over. You got all the songs, the iconic, Indiana songs and the national anthem and everything. And then the cars are going around. And, the first time I saw it, the cars were going slow. One of the guys in the back got stuck in the pits. And so he had to zoom around to catch up to everybody. So they're all just kind of coasting. And then you just hear zoom, like he just won. And you're like, oh, just a little taste of what's about to happen. And then green flag, they're going zoom, 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 just letting it go. So you hear about, like you said, just being able to hear that from the track. It's such an iconic sound.
Yeah.
When you get there and just hear and feel that, there's nothing like it. It is truly iconic. Just hearing that noise and the smell of the track and the sights and it's really an immersive experience, and it's truly the greatest spectacle in racing, and it's always been that way, and it will stay that way.
Yep. Better than the Daytona 500.
Yeah, it's better than the F1 racing.
Talladega.
All these people trying to come in and take away the crown from Indianapolis. We have over 500,000 spectators that make their way through. 300,000 inside the track on race day.
What's crazy to me is like outside of literally the race, Speedway Indiana is like there's nothing there. Like absolutely not. Like it's just the race. That's all it's known for. Literally Speedway Indiana.
Speedway.
Like you drive through Speedway on a regular day, it's just like the suburb of Indianapolis that doesn't really have much going on. Yeah. And then on race day, it's like
it's nuts.
Honestly, the entire month of May, I feel like there's everything you got.
You bring up something that I think is cool to talk about. So Speedway is the name of the town. The racetrack's there.
Yeah. And
it's like a category of Indy. Indy's got all these little pockets. We've got Mass Ave, Bottle Works area. You got the 16 Tech area. You mentioned you like going to the AMP. The downtown areas. I feel like there's just so many little different nooks and crannies of the city. And I love that. Like the other day, Maddie made a charcuterie lunch thing.
What?
Charcuterie. A charcuterie.
Can we get a fact check? That's an actual word.
Charcuterie board.
Yes.
This is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's just me. Okay.
See. So Maddie, I know it sounds
charcuterie.
It's pretty. It's
new. I'll add that to my vocabulary.
But it's like crackers, cheese, meats, chocolates, strawberries, all that good stuff. So anyways, she put together, let's go on a picnic. I'm like, all right. We went and played pickleball.
Oh, fun.
And then we went, she was like, where do you want to go? And I was like, let's go to University Park, which is right downtown, just by that war memorial. You can see, it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful day. There's a fountain, there's grassy areas, there's trees, there's picnic tables. And it's like a park, and it's in the middle of the city. And I love that. You think about New York. When you see New York on a map, all those buildings, and they have a beautiful park in the middle. But like it's still just in the middle of a concrete jungle.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come here to Indy, everything's so spread out and beautiful, and you sit there, it's just like, it's awesome, you know? So.
Yeah. There's a lot of places like that I feel like since I've been here, since I went to school here at IUPUI, that like you just learn a lot as you go. Like even little coffee shops or like little bar areas or like the amp, the garage.
Yeah.
Like all those places, I would, if I had like a family member that came into town or like someone that I wanted to take out, there's so many spots that you could just like casually go to and have like a really good time.
Absolutely. So Lauren, getting this Orr Fellow, would you call that a scholarship or more of a program?
I mean, it's a fellowship program.
Okay,
yeah.
fellowship program. So getting that coming out of college,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you had to stand out. What are the things that you did during your time in college to really prepare yourself for your career?
Yeah. I obviously got really involved on campus, but also did some things outside of campus as well. On campus, I helped with like our homecoming committee, so bridging the gap between students and alumni. Like
That's
I
awesome.
mentioned that before. Like I love making those connections and stuff, and putting on fun events just for students to be able to like enjoy their time at Marian, like as a community. And then I had a few internships, of course, with like COVID. Those kind of, one of them went remote, one of them never even happened, but I made do with what I could. I interned for Heartland Film, and I kind of just took that because I'm interested in film. One, not necessarily as much like watching film as like the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I'm sure you guys too with the podcast setup, you've done some research there as well. But it was awesome because even though it went remote, it was almost like a Netflix situation where they already had everything on the platform for me, and I would just watch international movies from my house, which was kind of hard because a lot of them were in other languages, so you have to like really stay focused and try to understand the storyline, because when they're like small independent filmmakers, the translations always like aren't the best. So it was really interesting getting like a world view during a time where like everyone was so isolated.
That's so cool. And I think just in terms of your scope and like, what am I trying to say here? Like literature, right? It's literature in the form of a film. It's culture. It's immersive. You're learning themes, and I'm just completely blanking on what I'm very fascinated by symbolism, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and just how to portray a message through some kind of form of art, right? Yeah, and that is so cool that you got to experience that just through film. And I think it's one of the greatest, like I say this, the first time I ever watched the Titanic, I was
like, oh, no.
This is just a crazy story. I watched it by myself. I was in high school and I had never seen it, and I just watched it by myself one day, and I was just like, wow. Like I felt like I was immersed in it, you know? And movies that make you feel that kind of way, I think are awesome. Like Interstellar, Inception, those are some really, I think, like deep, rich movies like that are really awesome.
Has arts been something that you've always been pretty passionate about? Like, is that something that
I would say so. I was like always the creative one in the family. My parents are like, we have no idea really where you got that from, but I think my dad has a creative side to him that he just doesn't. He just doesn't say. He just doesn't say it, but then he'll like doodle things, and I'm like, but yeah, it's always been like a core part of like who I am and how I express myself.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's probably bleeds over into just about everything you do, into your work, into your life, whatever you're passionate about.
That's a great point. And I like something that I've experienced just being out of school for a while is your life is all everything, like it's all packaged up, right? Like it, just let it bleed through. Don't try to categorize your life and your work and your friends and just let it all be together. You know, just ambiances and flows, and just kind of, I don't know. Let it happen. I mean, and I'm trying to think of an example here. like just working in sports, you know, the hours are crazy, but you might get to go to a lot of cool events. So invite a friend, introduce them to your coworkers, make it a part of your lifestyle, and then it really starts to feel like you're not working at all.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's what we're doing today. We're going to go out to the track and hang out. So
yeah, absolutely.
Record a like I was just thinking, I was driving this morning and I was like, this is the most. This is the best Saturday you can ask for.
Yeah.
Going to record a podcast, going out to the track, going to a Darty later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so what do you have to say about the porch party for IMS? What do you got to tell them?
Porch party.
Yeah.
Contest.
Yeah. We're gonna try to win the contest today
Okay.
for the best porch
party.
party.
How do you win the contest? Like, is there just like whoever has the best party?
Yeah. Well, I guess you just have to like snap a photo of like your porch party setup, but we're gonna make sure that like we have as many people packed on our porch.
Hey, you let us know.
As
we
possible.
can get you more than just a picture.
Yeah.
So we can.
Oh yeah,
make it
we
happen.
can do a
promote
live
this.
podcast
We can
in the
promote
front
this,
yard.
Okay. Beer dye,
Yes.
post game.
Post game interviews.
Yeah, and
whatever
they
games they
really
might be
do
playing.
like encourage you to do. It's like part of Indy's culture is like those
Yeah,
porch
the
parties, and
parties,
so I
yeah.
went and picked up a porch party kit from.
Let's go.
yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
and they give you
That's
everything you need. So
Awesome. Yeah, we're ready
No,
to roll.
We love a good Darty. So because I talked about how I was going out to South Carolina, and before I left, I didn't know what was going to be next after me leaving. And you know, I'm back here in Indy, and I'm very thankful and blessed for that. But I just didn't know what I was going to be doing, and so my buddies over at John's house, they threw me a Darty. And I was just like, man, this is love right here. You know,
This
people
is
just coming and
love.
going and playing games and
Yeah,
drinking
that's
some.
always a good time. Darties are always fun, and if you got the right group and the right people, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
yeah.
Should be a good
we're
time.
excited.
Porch party winners coming
Yeah.
on the way.
So, as someone who's in Indy,
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to the future, what kinds of things do you hope to see for the growth of Indianapolis as a young professional?
Yeah. I've mentioned this a lot of times, but like the surrounding colleges here, like finding ways to get them plugged in as like part of their college experience, so that way they'll want to stay in here post grad. I think is really important. And we kind of do that like through the work at the Indy Chamber. And I haven't even really mentioned Life in Indy all that much, so we can talk about that a little bit too.
Dive in.
But just trying to Indy Hub is doing a great job at trying to get people. Indiana Sports Corp is doing a great job at getting people like plugged in, and especially from like our age and even before that, like getting kids hyped about like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, even when they're in like middle school and stuff, when the princesses go and visit them. Like I wish that happened to me. I don't know. But yeah, I think that like the young professionals, like we are the next generation for Indy, and so like the more inspired to like make an impact we can become and like passionate about the city, the better it'll be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think, like you mentioned, the older generation is starting to realize that we are the up and comers, and it's like I feel personally, I think we could all attest to this, but like that they're really pushing us to try to go out there and get out of our comfort zone, and like making sure that we feel like we have everything that we need, like even in what I'm,
right
in every situation. I feel like as a college student, I feel like that's really important because that's kept me here. It's one I don't want to leave this city.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that we are getting a lot of respect from the people in the industry now that are a little bit older. I think that's how I feel, at least.
Yeah.
And IUPUI being downtown, that was a big pro for me. I think it was, I'm walking distance to most of the venues.
Yeah.
So I would volunteer. I volunteered with the Colts, and I would just walk from my dorm room.
Yeah, I think about that too all the time. Like my brother goes to IU in Bloomington, and it took him quite some time to find an internship because he was like, do I stay in Bloomington? Do I go back to Fishers?
Yeah.
Do I have an internship in Indy and Indianapolis and like do that commute, it's like we have access to internships like crazy, which is so nice.
It's nuts.
Yeah, you really, especially here, any school in Indy, but you can really get plugged in.
Yeah.
Like you would have to try not to get plugged, like have just networking in general is it's a lot easier here than I would say it is anywhere else in the state of Indiana, at least, which is awesome. I think it's awesome. It's a huge perk. I would promote IUPUI, Marion, any of these schools to anybody, just for that reason. Like you can do anything that you wanted. Like there's people anywhere downtown for that. So
yeah,
and that's awesome. I think that you realize that and that you did that, and now your career is basically that. Like you are just helping the younger generation, these college kids that are coming up now, you know, and they're going to look to you for help and for recommendations on what to do. And I think that speaks to you and to the person that you are, and that you notice that and see that. So that's really cool. And do you feel like you could see yourself staying here in Indy for a long time?
Yeah. I mean, I there might be a time in my life where I like go and move somewhere else and try something new, but I feel like ultimately I'll probably come back if that's the case. Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. I would love to visit other cities and try to do other things, but I think this will always be home to me. And I think Willie has always said that, because you've been to South Carolina, you've been to Denver, like your girlfriend's in Denver, like you know.
It's looking like, I mean, with my contract now, I've been networking with a lot of sports groups in Denver. And my goal is to get out there for a little bit, but for a certain amount of time, you know, I like John mentioned, you mentioned Indy is home. And whatever experience I get around the country or wherever it is that I go, I will always have Indy, and I will always be a part of Indy. And I think I'll always stay connected to Indy. And, you know, frankly, being more spread out and vouching for Indy, I think is something that's really important. I mean, in terms of the sports scene, you talk about the growth in the past 10 years, starting with the 2012 Super Bowl, and look at all the events that we've hosted since then, and the standard that's been developed since then has just continuously grown, and people really start to understand, wow, Indianapolis is a pretty cool host city. And now, you know, we're getting more and more bids that are being applied. So just going to see how it continues. I will always be a ambassador for that, you know. That's
awesome.
Yeah, same here. I think it's huge. I will always promote Indy for the best as long as I live. I think it's a great city to live in, and I'd love to stay here.
And one thing that, you know, we talk about Indy on this podcast, and then I also talk about moving. This is also a way that I'll use as a platform to stay connected, you know. So coming back for, you know, the 500 or just different events, and just, you know, doing vlogs and stuff. And but yeah, so earlier you were talking about diving in more to like day to day, what you do with your job. And I know that can be probably a pretty broad question, but I want to give you the floor to kind of like open up to a little bit of that.
Yeah. So I'm working on this initiative called Life in Indy. Technically at the Chamber, I'm on our Indy partnership team, which is regional economic development. So bringing businesses and my side talent to Indy. And through this platform, Life in Indy, the start of it, we kind of realized that like when people outside the Indy market think about Indy, a lot of the times they think about the Indianapolis 500 or they think about cornfields, or they don't know what to think at all. So we're like, how can we provide a space to put all of these stories of the people of Indy into one place, so that way if you already know you're going to be moving here either for a job opportunity or you're even considering it, you can go to Life in Indy and find what neighborhood might make the most sense for you based on, you know, what phase of life you're in, and what your interests and passions are. And my specific part of that project is managing a network called the Indyfluencer Network. And this is just a group of locals, people who live in Marion County and the surrounding counties, who are Indy advocates and can talk to people who might be on the fence about moving to Indy, like what they love about the city or wherever, whichever neighborhood or county they live in, some things to do, maybe talk about the schools if the people have children, or anything like that, just to get like an intro before you maybe take the next step of like connecting with a realtor to find a house or kind of diving into maybe even where you want to work. So it's just like an intro, and we do like trainings, but we also kind of get those influencers together because they all have a common interest in living in Indy.
That's an awesome job. That's really cool that you're so connected, and that's huge for like, that's a really important role for families, like you said. Like that's probably everything to them, just realizing like how comfortable they can be in finding a job or a school for their children and stuff. That's
and
awesome.
if I mean, with companies relocating to Indy, like if you're like, oh my gosh, my company is relocating to Indiana, I know nothing about Indiana, this is a good way to maybe relieve some of that stress, which then taps into my psychology major a little bit. So I'm like, here we go. Like, you can, it all aligns somehow. I've thought about that long and hard because I was like, I went to school for this and trying to apply it to really what I'm doing now. So
That's interesting. So tell me, studying psychology, what's been the most impactful thing that you've learned
in terms of like
that
psychology or how it applies to my job now?
How it applies. Yeah. What's like been the most valuable from psychology, studying psychology?
Have you guys studied psychology? Have you taken psychology courses at all?
I actually did take a psychology course in college.
Okay. So there's this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and one of them is like a sense of belonging. So I think of like this project Life in Indy, like place making, how it kind of aligns with that. And like how important it is for people to find their community, to feel connected, to make an impact. And you want to have friends, and you want to feel like you're safe in your environment. So that's kind of how I envision it, and let those two align. And the Indyfluencers do a good job of like, okay, maybe the neighborhood I live in isn't for you, but what about this neighborhood or that neighborhood, and who can I get you connected to that would give you more information about, this resource or this organization or this company. So it's kind of just like a spider web.
Yeah. And how cool is that you really studied, psychology just and how people work, right? Like I feel like you can do anything. You just know, how people operate, and you can work in and through them, and just that's really what your job is all about, right? Because you're not doing it alone. You're involved with other human beings.
And I feel like a huge part of it is just like listening to people and what they need.
That's a trait that's not very common. I feel like just being able to listen and evaluate, and like on the spot being able to come up with something relative to like what they need and what they want. Like as a psychology major, I'm sure that's kind of what you learn in school, which I don't think a lot of people, especially people in our generation, don't have like that trait, I guess, to listen and really understand like what someone else is trying to say.
It's hard. Our attention's like all over the place. Like we have social media with 15-second clips. Like
instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification.
I know. That's definitely going to be a struggle for our generation to overcome. And but it's great that you mention it and you're mindful of it, because I think that it's important to be aware, and it's good to see that.
Right. Well, we also like use that to our advantage at the same time, like promoting Indy on socials too. It's like you got to know
pros and cons,
and like some of our greatest videos right now, which is insane. We do a lot of like micro influencer partnerships with people around the city and in the surrounding counties. The ones that are getting the most views are literally like things to do, and it just says like Eagle Creek Park, and it's like a little clip, and then like flips to the next one. It's like you got 15 things in 15 seconds, and that's it's like blowing up, and you're like, whoa.
And the Sun King vlog that Crack It Cold just did the other day that got released last night, right?
Yeah.
That's a
go
big
watch
one
it.
too. Go watch it. That's a shameless plug right there. I'm not even afraid to say it.
Is it a shameless plug if it's your own content, on your own podcast?
That's a good point. No, the GoPro just shut off, but that's okay. Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't think so. I think
I think we can do whatever the heck we
Shameless
want
plug.
at this point.
yeah, maybe one day we'll get
It's our own. Yeah.
the JW say crack it cold on the
Yeah.
side.
Oh, that would.
Someday
This is May.
we're just gonna do a podcast from the top of the JW.
I
up
once so you have to this is a story. I once went to a concert, and to get to like the top or whatever, you have to use like your hotel room key, I believe. I haven't been there since, but we hopped on with someone not using a room key, and we took ourselves to the top floor just to get a view after the concert. And
That's
then
sweet.
we realized we couldn't get back down, so we found the stairwell and went
No,
all
you
the
didn't.
way down.
No, you didn't.
And my friend was like, my mom's going to be so mad because we had no cell service, and she was picking us up because we were like not ready to drive in the city. I
That's
think we were
crazy.
like 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I made it out alive, but don't do that.
Was it in Indianapolis?
It was in the,
the
JW.
JW from the
Yeah.
top. They
Wow.
came down the stairs.
the stairs.
Whoa.
Yeah, and we're
How
just
many-
like
do you-
passing maintenance
do
crews,
you
and they're
rem-
like, "Are you okay?" And we're like,
No.
we're just 16. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
Did
hilarious.
they? Do you recall how many floors that
I
was?
believe it was like 40, but maybe it was just it felt like a lot
Yeah.
because we were like, we're gonna get in so much trouble.
Yeah. After a concert too. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, I would love to do that. Honestly, that'd be a lot of fun. But I don't
Yeah,
know if I
well,
could-
the whole reason why we went up there is because the Indians game was about to get out, and they had the fireworks show going on.
Okay.
So we were
Yeah.
like, oh, we
Oh,
can watch the
wow.
fireworks from one of
Yeah.
the best views.
It's
And
good to
then
know though. You have to have a
jokes
hotel
on
room
us.
key.
We got stuck.
hilarious.
So, what other concerts, music things in Indy are you looking forward to coming up?
So definitely Legends Day concert this Saturday.
Nice.
Gonna get some country concerts in. I also like live really close to Ruoff. Like my parents are up in Fisher still, so we'll sometimes go up to concerts there and then crash at like
Okay.
my parents' house. I feel like this summer it's mostly country concerts that
Nice.
we're
Okay.
going to.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones this year in
Yeah.
Ruloff. You got
Yeah.
Zach Brown, I think, is coming to town.
Yeah, doesn't he always do 2
Dirk
nights?
Bentley. I think he does. Yeah, I think he usually does a night or two here.
Mm-hmm.
He loves it here. He always
Yeah.
comes here. So
What's the
Yeah.
best music venue in the state of Indiana?
Lauren, in your
Um,
honest opinion.
Well, I really like the feeling of going to a concert at Old National in like the
Mm.
basement where everyone knows every word to every song.
Yeah, that's
kind
cool.
of thing, and it's like dark in there and you can just like really feel the sound because
Yeah.
it's like enclosed. I think
Yeah.
that's like one of the best.
That's cool. I've never been to a concert there, but I wanted to go. Really, I
Yeah.
want
You
to
should
go really
definitely
bad.
check it out.
I would say I really like White River. I
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
that it's downtown.
Mhm.
There's not really a bad seat. Like even in the
That's true.
lawn, like
Yeah.
you're still pretty close to the stage. And
Yeah.
when I was 17, I got to see Post Malone there.
He's coming back this summer.
I know, yeah, he is, and he's going to Ruoff. But I got to see him at White River, and I was in the lawn, but I was still like so close
Yeah.
to him, and I was a really big Post Malone fan at the time, and that just kind of changed my whole perspective on White River.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
I've gone with Willie to MGK, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a few people there, and yeah, every time it's awesome. It's always a really, really good concert, and like they just redid it. They like remodeled.
Oh yeah.
It's,
It's,
not- it's
Oh, I haven't
TCU
seen it.
amphitheater.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the remodel was sick. Like it's pretty cool. Like they have, I don't really know what all they did, but they just changed, I think, the stage and
Mhm.
everything. But yeah,
well,
White
they,
River's-
didn't they like make a permanent stage and pavilion, right? And like,
It's kind of
grassed
Now
it
there's
out.
more of like it's like a pavilion. Like you said,
Yeah.
like it's like all white on top.
yeah,
It's like the light kind of
Lighting.
shines on it. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's cool. It's really cool.
and that's where the concert is this
On
upcoming
Saturday.
weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but I would say White River is probably.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
lo- I
and
love
being
it.
outside is super fun
Yeah,
too.
I would agree. I think that I have to go with an outdoor venue for concerts. And just because, Gainbridge Fieldhouse is nice,
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Oil is nice, but they're just so big. It can be hard to really
Yeah.
enjoy the atmosphere unless you have a really good seat. But being outside, I feel like there's just not a bad place to be.
Right.
And so Ruoff, was my favorite. I thought that was great. And then after going to White River, it's like Ruoff, but it's just a little bit smaller. Which makes it more, makes it more fun, I think, overall. It's, just more packed, closer to the sound. It's more immersive, and it's walkable. So, if you have a couple too many drinks at the concert, you don't have to worry about driving or getting an Uber or whatever it is.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I think I like outdoor venues though. So those are great. And Victory Field, love going to Victory Field, just watching a baseball game, being outside, seeing, the city in the back. Yeah. I love being outside. I love summertime. Indy in the summer is great.
It is.
Yeah.
Indy summertime is unmatched. Yeah. It's a blast. There's always so much to do. Is there something, Lauren, that you feel like how should I say this? Like a slept on thing in Indy that you would like, something that you do, or like a venue that doesn't get enough love, or like a place?
That is a great question. Well, I did just move over to like the South Broad Ripple, Meridian Kessler area, and I had gone to Half Liter a few times in college, but now living so close to it, like you got great beer, live music, barbecue. It's right on the Monon, so you can ride your bike there and then ride your bike home. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Half Liter? I'm not
Half
gonna lie.
Liter.
I don't think I've even heard of Half
Okay,
Liter.
well, when you come today, make sure you're hungry, because then you can drink a few bears. Nice. Walk over to Half Liter, grab a few more beers and some barbecue.
Right. There we go.
Half Liter.
I like to hear.
I like that. Yeah.
That's great. Speaking of walking places, so I live at Stadium Lofts, which is over by the Amp area, and John and I one time, like, we just were hanging out and then walked over to the Amp. I was like, oh, this is nice, just being able to walk there. So yeah, anytime you live somewhere close to that, like, you're walkable, I think, and that's what's really great about Indy too, is a lot of things you can walk to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that was huge when we were deciding, like, my lease is up, where do I want to go next? It was either going to be right downtown, because I was like, I probably need to have like that central downtown experience, or it was going to be over in South Broad Ripple, and stars just aligned with Sobro.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Half Liter.
Yeah,
I'll remember that.
Check it out.
Yeah,
check it out today after the Darty.
Yay.
Shout out. We're just going to go ahead and invite everybody to this Darty.
I know, really, at this point, I feel like I've almost invited the entire city.
The whole city is welcome.
Yeah, we're just,
it's not in my party, but I'll invite them.
Give you the address.
Well, we do have, through work, on June 23rd, it's on a Wednesday. I know that. We are having an event at the Amp at 16 Tech, and it's free to young professionals and interns. Nice. And the purpose of it is solely to get people acquainted with the culture and different things that we have here in Indy. So, especially for people who might have an internship where they aren't able to get out of the office all that much, this is a great way to be able to come out and hang out and learn a little bit more.
Text me that info and
I'll
put it on the video.
Put it on the show notes of the video.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
With the correct date and all of the right times.
Right here. It'll pop up.
Yes.
Right on the screen.
Yes. We call it fast forward, so you can kind of fast forward to like your future in Indy after your internship or once you graduate college.
Okay. Super cool.
Yeah.
16 at the Amp.
At the Amp at 16 Tech. Yep.
All right, folks. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you for taking some time on your Saturday morning to come chat with us and
it's been a great
talk on the podcast. So
it's been great.
Yeah, honestly. And we say this a lot too. We use this as a way to network with people around the city. So we'd love to stay in touch with you and connect with other professionals that and work together.
Of course, you'll meet a few today.
So.
But I'm always open to getting coffee and talking more about different things that I found in the city that I appreciate, and I just want everyone to feel like they're part of the community. So in any way that I can assist with that.
It's great. Yeah. It's a great mindset to have. Yeah, thank you, Lauren, for coming on. It's been a pleasure to meet you and to be able to talk to you. And it's been really, really, really glad that you came in on a Saturday morning.